Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Lewinter, licensed acupuncturist at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia.
And I'm Andrea Lewinter. I am also a licensed acupuncturist in Atlanta, Georgia.
Today, we're going to talk about fall, autumn. We're also going to talk a little bit about seasonal change and philosophy in East Asian medicine as to how we are different in different seasons. An example of this is that in the summer, where there's more light, we're more active, maybe our energy is up a little bit more. And then in the winter time, there's less light, it's colder, we bundle up, we're indoors more. So that's just a basic example. But we're in fall and we're here to talk about fall. So what do you think, Andrea? What fall, how's it been for you so far?
Fall has been good.
All's been good. Hey, so we're talking about the weather, the seasonal change, but we have some interesting weather coming this way, a little bit of some strong wind and rain with the hurricane.
And again, I think that all of that kind of goes into the the history of Chinese medicine and where it came from many thousands of years ago. And that's what people did. They observed nature, they observed the heavens, they observed animals, they observed. And as they developed their philosophy and so on, so much of nature is in there. What does it look like when we're in spring? What is happening in spring? In spring, everything is growing up. Things are reproducing and young is coming in. So it's a time of birthing. And where we are now is that season. We just finished the harvest. And now we're going into that rest period because the earth needs to rest now.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
Earth in this part of the hemisphere, because there's
right.
also this shift,
Flip
this yin and yang. Yeah, yeah.
it.
Because we can
So
get myopic, or we're like, oh, this is the way it is. No, there's
not everywhere.
other realities that exist. Yeah. And I think that all areas of the Earth experience some degree of seasonal change. Like
Absolutely,
even
yes.
in Antarctica, there's a warmer season.
That's right.
Yeah.
But just to go back to my point of the story is that as we have left the late summer and are going into the middle, things are coming down. The colors of the trees are changing. And from an acupuncture perspective or a healing practitioner, what we're seeing is people coming in with a lot of sinus things. We think of allergies as spring allergies, things are blooming, but it also happens in the fall. Things are coming down to earth, things are breaking up. They're beginning to disintegrate. There's mold, there's dust, and so on. So, as a practitioner, what we're looking at is people are part of nature. We are part of nature and we react to the seasons as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were talking about in certain seasons that people with maybe constitutional weaknesses or propensities may have a little bit of some issues around that season, like you said, sinusitis for some in the fall. And you use the word metal, which I wanted to just say that metal is another way that acupuncturists or East Asian medical practitioners might say the metal time would also be the fall time, because we can talk about this, and we might talk about this wood. The wood, fire, earth, metal, water. Metal would be fall, and then water would be winter, spring would be wood, summer would be fire would be summer, and earth would be that harvest time that you were talking about, like late summer. So we're in autumn and fall. There may be certain metal symptoms that we have, like issues with the lungs, because the autumn is about the lungs and the large intestine.
Mhm.
And we may be susceptible to issues with the lungs around this time, may be susceptible to issues with the bowel. Also, the lungs are connected with the nose, so it's sinusitis.
Mhm.
And then the list can go on and on, which makes it super exciting. There can be certain moods with each season. And the mood of autumn is grief. And when I think about this, it's like, why would it be grief? There can be loss. And what loss are we seeing? Like you talked about the birth in spring, the vibrancy in it of summer and late summer, that harvest. And now things are going inward. We see that the trees are letting go of their leaves. So there's a letting go. And that letting go can be associated with grief, an acknowledgement of, oh, we had this thing, spring, summer, late summer, and now we're getting to a place where it's going to end. Now there's a cycle, but the seasons can also teach us so much. And not only do I love fall because it's sweater weather and we can get pumpkin spice lattes, but I maybe can be a sentimental person and connect with the bittersweet part of missing something or longing for something or grief. I'm a big fan for many reasons of the autumn fall metal season.
And I think the emotion that you're talking about sometimes with grief is different than sadness. And sadness is associated with the summer. So we can be sad that we don't go to the beach. We can be sad that it's raining out. We can be sad that something has changed in our life. But grief is something that has changed that's not coming back.
That's right. That's right.
And we just talking about the seasons, we have left a season, and that season is not coming back.
That's right. Yeah. I remember a well-respected, I'm see if I can get the quote close to a well-respected East Asian practitioner. She said that grief is having lost something like having lost something that you once loved that you believed that was of value. Yeah, because again, when we talk about these seasons, talk about fall, the fall according to East Asian medicine, has a color, and the color sometimes the color makes sense, like spring, the color is green, or summer, the color of summer is red. But I guess the color of autumn or fall is white. And I know that in East Asian medicine, there's an association, I believe, with white, with death, with loss.
And spirituality,
Okay.
I think you get that spirit. And this is how they were talking about things several thousand years ago. It was ghosts and spirits and so on. So it was that ethereal nature of the white.
Yeah.
Um, so it didn't have a judgment associated with it. It was that ethereal nature of the
Yeah.
this.
And with fall being the lungs and large intestine, a big part of the experience of the lungs is pulling in air, pulling in oxygen, having it be of value to the body. So we're taking in something that's of value, and we're also letting go of something that we don't need anymore, carbon dioxide. So this season can be an interesting. People talk about spring cleaning and getting rid of things.
Yeah.
There can also be something about not only are the trees letting go of their leaves, there may be things that we're letting go of. And I sometimes will ask myself, what changes are happening now that are appropriate for fall?
And even cleansing of the body, preparing for the rest that is coming in winter. Winter
Yes.
is about being still and being warm and being calm and regenerating and reinforcing our energy. Again, these are times where we can go into meditation or maybe do a bit of a fast to prepare the body for the
Yeah.
next season.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. Like part of me we would always love to be in that upward excitement of spring or oh, the passion of summer.
Of summer.
But this is a very important time. And it's like you said, it's that almost like a transition because we're going to be going down even a little bit deeper into a rest. Yeah. We've talked a little bit about the organs, we've talked about a color. The flavor of the fall is one of my favorite flavors, and that's spicy. I think that's right. Is that right? The spicy.
Spicy is summer, so we're talking more about
No, I think this. We have. I think bitter is summer.
a bitter summer. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Apologize. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's not really spicy. It's more like an acrid, almost like that kind of flavor that makes your mouth feel dry.
Yeah, there is that acrid. That's right. So what is spicy?
I'm not sure that
Because I
there.
always thought that spice, like hot spice, it makes you let me look at it. Let's look it up here. It is acrid.
Mhm. And that can fall under spice. That can because it's a very different kind of taste. Where when we think of spicy, we think of cinnamon and nutmeg and things that are more palatable. Now, in five element philosophy, they'll talk about odor of the elements as well.
So I did look it up, and you're right. Acrid is definitely the flavor of fall. But I'm trying to see if spice, where spicy is, and I think that you might be right. I think that's summer because it's the heat.
It's the heat.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, good. I'm glad that we cleared that up. Yeah, so the flavor is acrid, the color is white. The challenging emotion might be grief. The positive emotion, I believe, is acknowledgement, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, very much with righteousness, acknowledgement.
yeah. And we have to acknowledge the acknowledgement is that like that something's come to an end.
We've taken in the harvest, and this is one of the ways I like to look at it. We've taken in the harvest. We're acknowledging that we have gotten a great harvest that will sustain us through the winter until spring comes and things start growing again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even they talk about a job. So in East Asian medicine, there's these five elements, these essentially 4 or 5 different seasons, and each season has a job. And according to my training, the job of the fall metal element is the architect.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
what about the architect? How do you see that as the metal element
Well,
or fall?
it's a structure, it's order. It's because they used elements, materials, they used minerals, and today we take those minerals and construct, heat them, and so on to build things. Yeah, it just makes perfect sense that we're taking the elements from the earth and we're creating something with them.
Yes. With spring is the wood element, and we can think about that as because there's this growing upward, and they're talking about plants, and so they say call it wood. Fire is the summer, so that's like a warmth. Earth is the harvest. Let's see wood, fire, earth, metal. But see, the metal, the autumn one, that always is a hard one for me to get around. Like why fall is metal is metal. Is it that sharp distinction between a sword, like that sharp distinction between we've had the life and abundance, and now we have this deep rest and this letting go? I don't know.
You made a good point there, Mark, or you mentioned something that I think is significant. It's a cutting off point, getting ready to go into hibernation,
Yeah,
ready to get still.
yeah.
Um, because it was very significant that China and Japan and Korea, they are northern. They're in the northern hemisphere.
Well,
They're
China's a big country, but
northern part of the world.
oh, having yeah.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things that is happening is that you're preparing for something that's going to be very restrictive.
So the order you like, we better get things
Better get things right now, not
right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, and an acknowledgement of what is needed.
Yeah.
So there's that order, that counting, like the harvest, we got the food, but now it's like double check, make sure that things are good because it's about to get a little bit more serious, a little more inward to in terms of getting colder.
And the sharpness in metal, this is how they made weapons and so on. It's the sharpness. And even from a personality perspective, we often look at people and we say, wow, they really are very sharp and decisive and unbending. We use these kind of terms. And the metal element, the metal characteristic of human nature very often is someone that is very sharp. is like, this is the way it's going to be. Boom, that's it. And they're not stubborn, they're just absolute in how they think.
I think that is metal judgment or justice. It-
Metal is that from my perspective, metal is righteousness. So that's going to go to justice, where the
it-
law, the courts,
yeah,
are going to find the right and wrong of
yeah,
some.
yeah. And so really getting that clarity
Yes.
because what's at stake is the next thing. And now I know we're talking about a lot. We talked about personality types and we talked about the personality types of the metal element. And what's wonderful about East Asian medicine is they've mapped this out or created a story that there's a personality type, which is the fire or summer personality type. There's
Mhm.
the late harvest, late summer, earth personality type. There's the metal autumn personality type. There's the water winter personality type. There's the wood spring personality type. And it's just, we're not, no one's all just one thing, generally not. We're a blend. But as we can
Yeah.
see the seasons change and perhaps put meaning to that and create a story around that, it can also inform us about ourselves.
That's so true. And from our conversation last time, is that this is where we're, as practitioners, where we're paying attention. How does that person sound? How does that person look? I was with a patient the other day that was talking about her health, and I just noticed that this is where you look for metal, is around the white around the eyes and through here. And I could see that this was very prominent in her. And as she was talking, she had essentially made her diagnosis, and it didn't matter what I said because we had to frame it with what her belief system was, because she was absolute and this is what the issue was.
Yeah.
So
And,
as practitioners, again, just to reiterate from our last conversation, is that we have to pay attention.
yeah, yeah,
And this is what we're doing in autumn. We're paying attention to what reserves we have, what we brought in, and how we're going to go forward.
that's right. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
And that coloration, we say white, but it's really because we can see this in all skin tones, light skin tones, darker skin tones, and it's just a little bit of a different
Yes,
shading. And for convenience, we might say white, but we're not actually saying white. We're just noticing this difference in the skin tone.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
There really is a lot more to talk about, and I love this. My training as a acupuncturist, I went to a traditional Chinese medical school, and so we focused on the five elements a little bit, but not as much as you did. And I was so grateful that I did an additional program at the school that you went to be able to learn more about the five elements. Is there anything else that you would like to say about this time of year, this season, or if people were just interested in learning about what we've been talking about?
I think if you're interested in learning about this, and I'm going to try to put that, this is
Yeah,
an excellent little book
Between Heaven and Earth. And,
between heaven and earth.
and that's
And
Harriet. We don't see the author. Is that Harriet Benfield?
Harriet Benfield,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And it's just a lovely book. And as you go through it, you can see yourself in all the elements, which is really, you had alluded to earlier. We're all part of nature, we're
right.
all part of everything.
Yeah.
Pretty absolute in what we.
Yeah. And therefore, we talk about these certain personality types. Like someone may say that they're more of a wood and a fire person, and that would mean something. Or maybe they're more of a metal and an earth person, and that might mean something. Usually it's two. But I also think that no matter who you are, we might be more autumn, fall, or metal like in all of us are going to be a little bit more like this in this season, no matter what our constitution is. Would you agree with
I
that?
agree. I agree. And I think it's that we're part, and I'm repeating myself here, but we're part of nature, and we're getting the energetic of the season because this is all energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. I know that when we end this call, I'll think to myself like, oh, we should have talked about this. We should have talked about that. But it's just because it covers so much. It covers colors, jobs, sound, odor, emotion, flavor, on and on. Yeah, Harriet Benfield's book, if one wanted to know more about that. And if you're wanting to hear more about that, our philosophy on five elements, you can come in and talk to us at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia. And our website is metroacupuncture.com, where you can schedule an appointment. And we look forward to seeing you in person.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.